Igor Shesterkin, Adam Fox, Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider, Patrick Kane, Artemi Panarin, first round exit. This playoff series between the Devils and the Rangers was absolutely insanity. The Rangers come up with the 2-0 series lead and eventually would choke it in the end, losing in 7 games to the New Jersey Devils. But we're going to be breaking down why this series was so crazy with highlights and more, so watch till the very end and subscribe if you're new for daily hockey content just like this. Now, this Rangers and Devils series was just so highly anticipated. We knew that it was going to happen for a while with the regular season and how the NHL playoff format was. A little bit of contention at the end, whether the Devils would get that first spot in the Metro, but ultimately they would get home ice advantage and would face off against the Rangers in round 1. Now, right before the playoffs began, I predicted the Devils to win in 7 games, my playoff predictions video, but the way they won in 7 games was completely different than how it actually happened. I saw the Devils getting maybe a 2-0 series lead, looking amazing at the start, using their speed and their quickness and their puck possession, wearing out the Rangers early in the series and getting that great series lead, but that didn't happen. The Rangers were amazing in the first couple of games, winning 5-1 in back-to-back games. Igor Shesterkin and the team really just looking masterful, and the Devils offense especially couldn't get anything going on home ice. But in the video I made just after those 2 games, expressing my worries about the Devils, I also expressed how important their road wins have been this season and just how good of a team they've been on the road and how Game 3 really will shape this series. And they ultimately got that OT winning Game 3, Dougie Hamilton with the biggest goal of the season, and the Devils would really start storming back. They would get those 2 road wins and would take that 3-2 series lead. And even though there was a little bit of a scare in that Game 6, Game 7 is where everything mattered, and they got the job done. But in Game 7, even though Lindy Ruff had an 0-5 record in Game 7s as a coach, the Devils came to play, and they came to play on home ice most importantly. The Rangers, of course, had that Game 6 momentum, but the Devils would not let that last. The first period was back and forth, a bunch of shots on both sides, but no goals, and halfway through the second, there still wasn't any action. It was a 4-on-4 and eventually would lead on to Rangers power play, but Ondrej Palat with the most beautiful play you will ever see, getting around so many different defenders, getting that puck back, and Michael McLeod, the goal of the century, the patience around Igor Shesterkin, and the Devils have a 1-0 lead off a shorthanded tally. But again, it all starts from Ondrej Palat, who's come up so many times in the playoffs over these past few years for Tampa Bay. In Game 7, just that monstrous shift, and Michael McLeod is able to bury it. Again, this was the type of play New Jersey needed. That's the type of tenacity New Jersey needed, and that 1-0 goal was just painful for the Rangers to give up. With 4:30 to go in the second, the ESPN scoreboard is just jinxing the Rangers to all heck. 7-1 in Game 7 for Chris Kreider and 1 win shy of an NHL record. Marino comes in, puts it ahead to Tomas Tatar, who's all alone in the slot, and that doubles the lead for the New Jersey Devils. And that's just sad to see. But for the Rangers, where's the defensive fight? Kreider and Tarasenko just losing their guys in front of the net. And again, what is Igor Shesterkin supposed to do? Well, with 5 minutes to go in the third, I absolutely love this goal. You see Palat just a monster along the boards, and Jack Hughes using that speed, getting that puck across, and then Erik Haula just roofs it home. That's the type of play the Devils have had all season, and that's the type of play they needed in Game 7. And then you see this final goal to make it 4-0 New Jersey. The Rangers have the empty net. Jesper Bratt gets it across from Fox, and it all goes ahead, just barely wide of the net. But then brought that extra effort, and the Ranger season is over. But going back to that 2-0 Rangers series lead, again, like they had versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, I might add. But the Rangers were strangling the Devils. They were making New Jersey not play their game. And we saw quotes after the fact that New Jersey admitted they needed to get back on that puck possession speedy game. We saw quotes coming out that they were, from the get-go, kind of just expecting the game to be different and trying to make their game different. But that changed everything for them, and that made things way, way worse. They were the best version of themselves when they were dominating possession, dominating play, dominating the puck entries, and really keeping possession on their side. And we saw New Jersey make that immediate change after Game 2. 2. And even though there was that game 6 loss, which again made things a little bit scary, they didn't back down. They could have gone back to their game 1, game 2 game, and in game 7 completely caved in on themselves. But they didn't. They stuck with their game plan. They stuck with what's worked the entire season for them. And that is why game 7 was theirs. And going back to what I thought was going to be the difference for the Devils in that speed, in that puck possession, that is what the difference was. The Rangers looked slow. They looked individual. They looked absolutely uncollected. And that's what the Devils kind of looked like in game 1 and game 2. But the whole reverse happened, and the Devils were able to get back to their game, get back to what worked, and that was so necessary. You saw players just carrying things in those first couple games afterwards, like Jack Hughes, like Dougie Hamilton, trying to get the team back on track, and they eventually would. But that game 7 is exactly what I thought the Devils were going to give us for most of this series, and even though there were a couple of issues, in the end, the Devils were back to their game and back to winning like they should have. But you gotta give credit where it is due, man, to the top end of that lineup. Players like Hischier, players like Meier, players like Hughes, even though sometimes there wouldn't be the goals to back things up, they would still be relentless on pucks, still trying to do as much as humanly possible to get past Igor Shesterkin. And Igor Shesterkin was the only reason why this series was even close to a 7th game. It would have been over after game 6, 100%. Igor Shesterkin was carrying the Rangers in this series, and even still with the loss, still was trying his hardest, still was making some really good saves, but the Rangers in game 7 got shut out, and there was just nothing Igor could do. But it is funny. I think the Rangers and their biggest weakness throughout the second half of this series was that individuality. We saw in game 1 and game 2 how it felt like they were a team again. They were playing like a concise unit. But again, we saw how throughout the series, New Jersey was able to get back under their skin with the speed that they had. And as that continued to happen, it just kind of started to unravel the New York Rangers and that consistency that they had throughout the lineup. And that was exactly what New Jersey was trying to target coming in that they weren't able to start out with. But that type of game 3 they had, that game 4, which was dominant for them, those are the type of wins that New Jersey is perfect at. And again, getting back to their game wasn't easy after a 2-0 deficit, and especially after losing game 6. But again, credit to that Devils room, credit to the players on the ice, because they came to play no matter what. And especially, again, with how inexperienced that Devils roster is, to do that against a Rangers team that is as experienced as it is a humongous feat. But you know what as well? You have to give credit to Akira Schmid, my absolute GOAT, man. 5 games played in this series, a 1.38 goals against average, a .951 save percentage, second in goals saved above expected in the entire playoffs after only playing 5 games. He was dominant, and even though there was that kind of shaky game 6, going back to game 7 was a difficult decision for Lindy Ruff. He could have put Vitek Vanacek back in net, but he stuck with Schmid, the rookie sensation, and look where the results came. I mean, a shutout in game 7. That's legendary stuff right there. And even though the Rangers didn't look good, he still had to make some pretty good saves, and he came up when they needed him most, out of nowhere, to steal this series away from the Rangers and out-battle Igor Shesterkin. That's not easy to do. Akira Schmid did it. But man, I'm just so impressed by how the Devils were able to respond, and that's the type of response you need in the NHL playoffs. That's where I thought maybe that lack of experience could come back to bite them if we'd see that response happen, and they absolutely responded in a big way. Down 2-0, and to win that series like they did. I mean, the team that did that last against New York was the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that's obviously a much different thing when it comes to experience, comparing the two. But New Jersey, they had the resilience, and that's what you need in the NHL playoffs, and especially going into that second round versus Carolina, they're going to need that experience and that resilience again. They might not get off to a perfect start, but New Jersey has proved they can handle adversity. And again, regular season wise, that's important, but in the playoffs, it's everything. And the Devils proving that is huge. It takes that next step forward, and it really solidifies New Jersey as a true contender in this year's playoffs. But now when you look at things, the East is completely wide open, and I could absolutely see a scenario where if Schmid keeps doing what he's doing, the Devils win past Carolina, which I expected them to do. I expected them to beat the Islanders or the Canes if they faced them in round 2, and potentially maybe the Panthers, maybe the Leafs in round 3, but I do like the Devils' chances if that does happen in a playoff series. I think the Devils have a chance to go all the way here to the Stanley Cup final, And who knows? I mean, the NHL playoffs are crazy. We have seen how crazy they've been so far, but New Jersey has played fantastic, and they've been a fantastic team, and that type of puck possession is fantastic for them. We never know. Maybe it's a miracle run. Maybe it's another Matt Murray situation now with New Jersey and Schmid. But there is so much hope with this Devils roster, and that Game 7 win, man, does so much for their future in these playoffs. But for the Rangers, man, all of my fears that I had with them were realized. They were individual, they were trying to be an all-star team, and it didn't come all together. I remember I made a video just like a month before Patrick Kane was even traded to the Rangers, talking about how I think that trade would be a mistake, and talking about how I think they just needed more defense. They needed a more all-around unit, and trading for Patrick Kane would distract from the Rangers' true needs. And even though I thought the offense would be great, which throughout a lot of the points in this series just wasn't the case, I thought that all-around effort wouldn't be there if they traded for Patrick Kane instead of some other player. And even though it wasn't exactly correct, because again, the Rangers forward group was still not getting it done, even with Patrick Kane, but at the same time, it felt like that type of deal was going to haunt them a little bit and be kind of too good to be true. And even though Kane got points in this series, it wasn't like he was dominant every single shift, especially 5-on-5. He wasn't really all too impactful, and we saw how it kind of haunted the Rangers just a little bit. But so many parts to be blamed here for the Rangers. This offseason is going to be hectic, but I would not expect the Rangers to go down easily. There's going to be a ton of moves this offseason, especially with the management and the coaching staff, and I think we're in for a pretty big rinse. Well, let me know in the comments down below, how far do you guys see the Devils going in the playoffs? What do you think the Rangers should do next? Do you think they should trade players? Do you think they should get rid of Gerard Gallant? Let us know down below. Of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for more breakdowns just like this, and click on this card for all of my playoff talk right in one playlist, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day, and goodbye.